There are meals you eat, enjoy for a moment, and then forget before the day ends. And then there are meals that refuse to leave you. Meals that stay with you long after the last bite has gone down your throat. Meals that sit quietly in your memory, calling you back again and again, like a soft voice you cannot silence no matter how hard you try. Some people say it is just good cooking. Others say it is talent. But those who have truly experienced it know that sometimes it is something deeper than that. Something you cannot explain, something you cannot copy, something you cannot steal. And somewhere, hidden in the restless noise and endless movement of a busy Eastern market, there once lived a woman whose food carried that kind of mystery. Her name was Mama Halima, and her shawarma was not just food. It was an experience people spoke about in low voices, as though saying too much might break whatever magic lived inside it. Every morning, long before the market fully woke up, before traders began shouting prices, and before buyers started feeling the narrow paths between stalls, Mama Halima would already be there. She always arrived at the same time, quiet, focused, unbothered by the world around her. She would unlock her small wooden store, tie her wrapper firmly around her waist, and begin her routine with a calmness that never changed, no matter what was happening around her. Her store itself was simple, so simple that anyone passing by for the first time might not even notice it. A wooden counter that had seen many years. A large metal grill that carried the marks of constant use, stacks of foil paper arranged neatly to one side, and a small, fading sign that simply read, "Fresh shawarma daily." There was nothing flashy, nothing designed to attract attention. And yet, attention always came, because once Mama Halima lit her grill and the first pieces of marinated chicken touched the heat, everything changed. The air itself seemed to shift. The smell would rise slowly at first, soft and almost gentle, like a quiet promise. And then it would spread, weaving its way through the market, like an invisible hand pulling people closer without their permission. Men in a hurry would suddenly slow their steps. Women bargaining loudly would pause mid-sentence. Children would stop whatever they were doing and look around with wide, curious eyes. And almost always, someone would say it first. "Ah, Mama Halima has started cooking." And just like that, the line would begin. People did not just buy her shawarma. They waited for it. They anticipated it. They spoke about it like it was something alive. It was never too dry, never too soft, never too spicy, never too plain. Every bite felt balanced in a way that made no sense, as though the food understood exactly what your mouth wanted before you even tasted it. The bread was always warm and lightly toasted, soft enough to melt when you bit into it, yet firm enough to hold everything together. Inside, the layers came alive. Perfectly seasoned chicken, crisp vegetables, smooth garlic sauce, and something else. Something nobody could ever name. Something that made people pause mid-bite, close their eyes, and then take another bite immediately, almost without thinking. "I don't understand it," one woman once said, shaking her head slowly. "It feels like something I've known before, like a memory I forgot." Another man laughed softly and replied, "This is not ordinary food. This one has a spirit." Even children who usually cared little about such things would hold their wraps tightly and eat with a kind of seriousness that made adults smile. And through all of this, Mama Halima never changed. She never boasted. She never explained. She simply smiled, served, and repeated the same words whenever anyone asked her secret. "God gave me these hands. I only use them. For 10 years, This was her life, steady, peaceful, growing quietly without noise or drama. Her business flourished. Her children went to good schools. She built a modest but comfortable home. People respected her not because she demanded it, but because her consistency had earned it. She had done everything the right way. Clean hands, clear heart, no shortcuts, no tricks. But in every place where light shines steadily, there is always a shadow watching from somewhere nearby. In the same market, not too far from Mama Halima's store, there sat another woman named Ngozi. Unlike Mama Halima, Ngozi's days were filled with struggle. Her provision shop, once hopeful and promising, had slowly become a place of disappointment. Customers came less and less. Goods expired on her shelves. Bills piled up faster than she could pay them. And each day, as she sat behind the counter pretending to arrange items that nobody was buying, her eyes kept drifting in one direction, toward Mama Halima. At first, she watched with simple curiosity, then admiration, then comparison, and slowly, without her even realizing when it happened, that admiration began to change. It became something heavier, something sharper, something that did not want to learn anymore, but wanted to take. How can one person have all this? She would think, her fingers tightening around the edge of her table as she watched the endless line of customers across the road. We are in the same market. We breathe the same air. We face the same struggle. So why is her own different? That question stayed in her heart. It grew there, fed on her frustration, watered by her failures, until one day it gave birth to a decision. If I sell what she sells, I will succeed too. And that was how everything began. But success did not come, not even close. And day after day, Ngozi stood behind her stall, watching her shawarma grow cold while flies gathered before customers ever did. Watching people walk past her without even slowing down, only to cross over to the other side where Mama Halima's line kept growing longer and louder. And at first, she told herself it was only a matter of time, that people would adjust and eventually come. But days turned into weeks and nothing changed. The same painful words followed her everywhere like a curse. It's okay. Not special, not unforgettable, not hers. And one evening, as the market emptied and silence slowly replaced the noise, Ngozi sat alone, staring at her own soul food, her jaw tightening, her fingers calling into fists as her eyes drifted once again toward Mama Halima, who was still smiling, still serving, still winning. And in that moment, something inside Ngozi finally snapped. The next morning, she woke up before dawn, the sky still dark and the world still quiet. But her mind restless and heavy with something dangerous. And as she sat on the edge of her bed, trying to steady her breathing, she realized she was on her monthly flow. And for a brief moment, she paused, staring down in silence as a dark thought slowly crept into her mind. A thought she should have rejected, but instead entertained. And without allowing herself to think any further, she removed her used sanitary pad, stained and heavy, held it in her hand for a second as if testing her own courage, then quickly wrapped it and shoved it deep inside her handbag, whispering under her breath, "Today, everything ends." By the time she arrived at the market, life had already begun. Voices rising, people moving, and there, in the middle of it all, was Mama Halima, just as always, calm, focused, unaware, and Ngozi approached her with a bright smile that hid everything boiling inside her, greeting her cheerfully and asking for shawarma as though nothing was wrong. And Mama Halima, with the usual warmth, prepared the wrap and handed it to her, fresh, hot, perfect. And Yosi took a bite, then another, buying herself time while her heart pounded loudly in her chest. And then, in one swift, calculated movement, she slipped her hand into her bag, brought out the stained pad, and pushed it deep into the shawarma, hiding it carefully before suddenly letting out a loud, piercing scream that cut through the entire market, causing people to turn instantly in shock. "What is this?" she shouted, dropping the shawarma to the ground as her body trembled dramatically, drawing a crowd within seconds. And as people gathered around, confused and curious, one man bent down to inspect the fallen wrap and froze the moment he saw what was inside. And murmurs spread like wildfire as disbelief turned into disgust. And Nosy fell to the ground, crying loudly, accusing Mama Halima with a broken voice, claiming betrayal and horror. And in that moment, chaos took over. Voices rose, people stepped back in fear. Some left immediately, and though Mama Halima stood there, calm and quietly insisted she did not put anything inside the food, her voice was drowned in the noise of confusion and accusation. And just like that, 10 years of trust began to crumble in a single moment. The damage spread faster than anyone could control. Stories twisted, truth buried beneath gossip. And within days, many customers stopped coming completely. Her once lively stall became painfully quiet. And though she lost money, lost customers, and lost the peace she had built for years, she did not lose her composure. She did not fight. She did not beg. She simply continued her work with the same calm dignity. And while many turned their backs on her, a few loyal customers remained, standing firmly by her side. People who had eaten her food for years and refused to believe what did not match the woman they knew. And slowly, very slowly, a small line began to return, not as strong as before, but enough to keep her going. But truth has a way of rising, no matter how deeply it is buried. And in this case, it began quietly when one of the women who had been close enough that day started to question what she had seen. Something about Ngozi's movements did not sit right with her, and over time, whispers began to shift direction, not toward Mama Halima, but toward Ngozi. And when another trader came forward and mentioned noticing Ngozi's strange behavior before the incident, suspicion grew stronger until eventually the matter reached the local authorities, who decided to investigate properly. And when they questioned people and pieced together the events of that day, the truth began to unfold clearly, exposing the lie that had nearly destroyed an innocent woman's life. Ngozi was called in for questioning, and at first she denied everything, holding onto her story with shaking confidence. But under pressure, with witnesses speaking and contradictions piling up, her strength began to crumble. Her voice faltered, her eyes filled with fear, and eventually she broke, confessing to everything she had done, from the moment jealousy took root in her heart to the act she carried out that day in the market. And the silence that followed her confession was heavier than any noise she had created before. She was arrested, charged, and taken away, her actions finally catching up with her in a way she could no longer escape. And as she was led away, the same market where she had once tried to destroy another woman's name stood as a witness to her downfall, while Mama Halima, though deeply hurt by everything she had lost, slowly began to rebuild, her name clearing, her customers returning, and her dignity standing stronger than ever, proving that no matter how dark a lie may seem, truth will always find its way back to the light. And if there is one thing this story teaches, it is this: never let jealousy push you into becoming the very thing you once hated, because every action, no matter how hidden, carries a consequence that will one day return. And when it does, there will be no place left to hide. If you truly enjoyed this story and you want more powerful, emotional, and eye-opening African stories like this, make sure you subscribe to this channel right now. Turn on your notification bell so you never miss any story we drop. And don't forget to share this video with your friends, your family, and your loved ones, because someone out there needs to hear this message. And I will see you in the next one.